For us at the family, this was one of these things that, we're all partners in this world of the NFL and the Cowboys and Jimmy Johnson. But for us, we were all like, come on, Jerry. And when you got the call, privately, you and I talked about this. When you got the call privately, it does mean something. This stuff does mean stuff, right, Jimmy?
Yeah. Colin, the big thing, Jerry told me for years I was going to go in the Ring of Honor. So I knew eventually it would happen. But what was special, I had my family, my wife, Rhonda, my, sons, Brent and Chad and their wives, Rhonda's daughter, all my best friends, all the Fox crew, my players, my coaches. I mean, they were all there. And so that's really what made it special.
Yeah. When I watched the Cowboys-Lions game, I know the officials, it appears, made a mistake. But you've told me this before.
Right.
They happen. You can't be a fan or a player.
Right.
As a head coach, you've got to be emotional and just deal with it. You're not a player. You're not a coordinator. You're a head coach. I didn't like Dan Campbell going for it again. You'd use your trick play. That's a congested area. Jimmy, I didn't like it. I would have kicked the PAT and gone to overtime. Would you have done the same?
Yeah, exactly. I think he got emotional. He got upset that the official probably made a bad call, but, he got himself in trouble because he tried to trick the Cowboys and to see who the substitution was and who was eligible. And what he did, he tricked the official. The official wasn't sure, because really 68, 3 people went up toward the official. And even though 68 said, hey, I'm the one, I'm eligible. He was trying to confuse the Cowboys. And what he did, he confused the official. The official made the wrong call. But then again, you got to deal with it. And then after they penalized him, rather than be emotional about it, kick the extra point, try to win it in overtime, because really they were playing better than the Cowboys.
Yes.
And so
yeah.
That's the reason why I would always make a decision whether or not to go into overtime or not. If I was the underdog and if I didn't have as good a team as the opponent, then I might go for 2.
Yeah.
But if I had the better team, I would feel like, hey, let's put it in overtime because we're the better team. We'll win it in overtime.
Okay, let's go to the Dallas side. And this bothers me. Whenever coaches go for it and it fails, they always say the same thing. Hey, I wanted to go for it. And it's hard as a reporter to push back on that, right? We all love aggressive coaching. But I didn't love Mike.
Right.
I didn't love Mike McCarthy in field goal range anyway. Detroit's got 1 timeout. Jimmy, I didn't like them throwing the ball in a low percentage drifter down the right sideline. What did you make of that?
And in fact, I said the same thing on Fox NFL Sunday. He gave Detroit an opportunity to win the game rather than running the clock out, make them get rid of their timeouts and win the game that way. And so, no, I didn't like him throwing the football there at the end because he just opened the door for Detroit.
So I got to ask you about Philadelphia. Jimmy, you coaches you experiment at your OTAs. You experiment in preseason. Even in September, you're going to try some things to figure out if guys can play. How can they play? But you get post-Thanksgiving, you like to have stuff buttoned up. I watch Philadelphia's offense. I like their personnel. I don't know what they are offensively. I don't know. Can you flip a switch this late in the season, Jimmy?
I think they've got real problems. And there's 2 things there, Colin. As far as their offense, people have seen that offense, and the more times you play against it, the more times you practice against it. Gannon practiced against it, every day a year ago when he was the defensive coordinator.
Yeah.
And so he knew how to play that offense. The other thing is they are so bad in the secondary. I don't know if their defensive backfield can hold up. They've got a lot of good players. I'll say that. They've got a lot of good players. But they're really poor in the pass defense, and people are playing their offense better than they have in the previous years.
I got to ask you about this because, you've had contract negotiations with, Wayne Huizenga, Jerry Jones, and Fox. stuff gets dicey, and the Russell Wilson, Sean Payton stuff, there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that I just don't pretend I know. But there is something about this relationship. Sean is almost to a fault authentic and emotional and outspoken. It's gotten him in trouble. Russell is relentlessly optimistic, so much so he's had teammates turn on him. I never felt the personalities worked. You don't have to go to dinner. Okay, Belichick and Brady weren't going out for cocktails, but this just never felt right to me. Did it feel right for you?
Well, first of all, you mentioned Belichick and Brady. And, of course, as you know, I know both of them, especially Bill, extremely well. Both of them respected each other as winners. Both of them knew that the other one could help them win championships. So there was tremendous respect there. I don't think you have that with Russell Wilson and Sean Payton. And I'm not real sure Sean Payton wanted Russell Wilson from day one.
Yeah.
But the problem is he got that huge contract, and now it looks like Sean's going to try to, win not only without Russell Wilson, he's going to try to win without the same amount of money as the opposing teams, because there's going to be a lot of dead money for the next couple of years. And so his cap number will be much smaller than his opponents. Now, whether or not, a lot of times, you can play with some cheap players and still win games, but it's nice to have the best players.
Miami, I've watched San Francisco and Miami try to defend Lamar Jackson. Yeah, it doesn't work. He's now become
it doesn't work. I don't care who it is. It's not going to work against Lamar Jackson.
Is there a way?
Player.
What would you have done against Lamar? What would you have tried?
I'd start studying the next week's opponent and try to beat them.
Yeah, there's not much. You know what I love about him, Jimmy? And you see this with a lot of players, not necessarily quarterbacks. He's so competitive. He gets so angry at himself. How much did you value competitiveness?
Oh, please. If he's a great competitor, not only is he going to compete during the ball game, he's going to be competitive getting ready for the ball game. After a loss, he's going to be, that much of a competitor in preparing for the next opponent. So the competitiveness helps you not only on game day, but it helps you throughout the year.
Yeah. Jimmy, you've had a career where you're one of the best college coaches ever. You're one of the best NFL coaches ever. You are, as everybody at Fox knows, you're the coach on the set. Those guys are screwing around. You're the coach on the set, just making sure Bradshaw and Howie Long and Strahan show up and, wear their suits. You don't celebrate yourself a lot. You're a grinder. You used to get here before everybody. You'd walk down the road in L.A. and get here, and I'd see you walking all over town. If I said to you, I was going to hire a young Jimmy Johnson, and I'm the athletic director or I'm the owner, and I said, there's this guy, Jimmy Johnson. What do you think your core strength has been? I know you don't like talking about this stuff. What is your core strength or the message you would give to coaches about how to get it right, college and pro?
Well, a bunch of my guys were down here, this past summer, and they were all talking what my strength was. And, a couple of them said, well, evaluating talent, drafting, picking up free agents. Another one said motivating the team, et cetera. I said, I think my greatest strength is I try to bring out the best in everybody. Jerry Jones said it a couple of days ago. He said, I inspired him to be competitive. It inspired him to be the very best. I try to bring out the best in everybody I'm around, whether or not it's the Fox NFL Sundays set, whether or not it's the graphic people, whether or not it's the cameraman, whoever it is. And so that's the thing that I try to bring to the table. As far as the talent, now, remember, Colin, on your show a few years ago, we were talking about the draft. It's about a week or two before the draft.
Yeah.
And I said, you know what? Detroit needs to draft one of these young quarterbacks like Justin Herbert. And people said, well, they've got Matthew Stafford. And so they're going to draft this defensive back, Okuda or whatever. I said, you'd rather have a franchise quarterback or a defensive back? And that was just a week or two before the draft. Now, I think looking back, they probably would have drafted Justin Herbert, And so you look at Chicago now, and so evaluating talent, that's what I love. I love evaluating players. And, Chicago right now, they've got a chance to take Caleb Williams. But you got to realize a team wins the Super Bowl, not just the quarterback. Is it Jamarcus Russell? Is it Cam Newton? Is it Jared Goff? Look at all the first picks in the draft. And so they've got to make a decision. Can they win a Super Bowl with Fields with about 5 or 6 great players? Because they can trade that number 1 pick.
Yeah.
For a lot of picks.
Yes.
Or can they take Caleb Williams with the roster they have with a couple of players and win a Super Bowl? That's the decision they have to make. And it's going to be a interesting one to see which way they go.
I would take Caleb and reset the clock. My belief is he's a better thrower of the football. What would you do?
I don't know. Justin Fields has come on strong. And like I said, you could take that number 1 pick and you can probably get 5 or 6 players.
Yeah.
Really good players, or you can take Caleb Williams. He may be Patrick Mahomes. And you're still going to get a couple of good players because you've got some other picks. So if you think he's Patrick Mahomes, I'd say take Caleb Williams.
Yeah, you have to rely on your scouts. Finally, you're uniquely positioned to have a comment on this. There's a handful of great college jobs. Now, you made Miami a great job, but they don't have the funding historically of Alabama or an Ohio State. I think Michigan's a top 5 job. It was a little smoke and mirrors down in Miami. You had some recruiting, but you didn't have the fan, the culture. I think Michigan.
We had to tell them we were going to get good facilities
every year.
We don't have a stadium and we don't have very good facilities, but we're going to get there eventually. Now they are improving, by the way.
So I think Michigan is one of the 10 best jobs in America, pro or college. But boy, go to Chargers, get Justin Herbert. It's a higher level of coaching. What would you do if you're Harbaugh?
Yeah, this comment came to me secondhand, so I can't say if it's 100% accurate. But Nick Saban supposedly made the comment here not too awful long ago, with all the NIL problems, with all the transfer portal problems. If he wasn't at the age that he is right now, he'd go back to pro football because it is a pain right now, and I don't like it at all. The way college football is being operated with NIL and with the transfer portal. If I was Harbaugh, I'd say, hey, adios, I'm going to pro football and with a great quarterback.
By the way, Jimmy, did you notice that basketball coaches Jay Wright, Mike Krzyzewski, and Roy Williams all retired probably earlier than maybe Krzyzewski but a lot of these college basketball coaches saw this thing coming and went, this is a mess. We're out of here. Jay Wright had another 10 years to coach. He's like, I don't want anything to do with this stuff.
Yeah, they got to work 12 months out of the year around the clock just to recruit their own players to keep them from transferring. They've got to identify certain players. Well, who's going to get what money with the NIL, this guy or that guy, and then it ends up you give money to a guy that can't play a lick, And so it is a real headache. Like I said, I think at one time, college coaching, man, that was the easiest thing going because you coached during the season, during the off season, you had family time, you could travel, you could do whatever, do a month or 2 of recruiting. No big deal. If you're at a great school, you're going to get great players. But the atmosphere has changed. Now, I think the college coaches are working as hard, if not harder, than the pro coaches.
Yeah. Great weekend for you, Jimmy. Several more to go. You always take time for me. We know you're busy, and I appreciate it.
All right, Colin. Hey, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.